What's up, guys? Ruben Tech back with another announcement for Google Cloud. Here we have Google announcing their first ARM-based CPU, Google Axion. This was all the way back in April 9th of 2024. And just recently, it was announced that Alphabet has partnered with Spotify and Paramount to use Axion in the cloud. Now, this to me is completely shocking. As you know, I did a deep dive last week that I believe Sundar Pichai watched and took his notes from. That's how accurate this deep dive is. Pat myself on the back here. And in my deep dive, of course, I covered Axion and I said that it presents a huge opportunity of growth in the cloud segment for people wanting to move away from inefficient AMD and Intel x86 chips. Now, keep in mind, these do not compete with NVIDIA's chips, which are AI chips. These are more of your brains of the data center, okay? And so we know from Apple with what they did on the desktop and introducing Apple Silicon, the M1 Max series a few years ago, that there is great efficiencies to be had with ARM versus x86 architecture. However, I did not in my wildest dreams think that Google would this soon be releasing to customers. That's because usually when these chips come out, it takes a while for them to make their way into the hands of the customer. Now, 6 months isn't, you might say, that's quite a while. Well, technically it really isn't. So just to give you an idea, Microsoft has released its own chip. This is from CNBC, Maya, over a year ago. And the company has started to use Maya and its Maya chips to power its own services, but it still hasn't made it available for customers to rent out again. So here we have Google just 6 months after they released Axion already making available to customers. And not only has it been making available now, it sounds like from this quote that we see from Dan Zolotusky, he is a Spotify principal engineer, that they've already been using it. Dan is quoted as saying, "Our tests on Axion have shown roughly 250% better performance than we've seen on workloads on Google Cloud to date." Now, that to me, that is absolutely crazy. I have to take an aside from what I wanted to say because it's just one of these things in my brain, and this has to be hyperbole. In my wildest dreams, I wouldn't imagine 250% better performance over x86, right? Now, when we say that, he's not talking performance like just how many marks can I get. He's talking about probably dollars, performance per dollar, which is what you care about in the cloud, right? You care about what kind of performance I'm getting for what kind of price am I getting, okay? But even there, I would be just shocked if it's 250% better. I mean, if it is, then Google has literally knocked it out of the park and everyone has to jump on board. But my guess is that this has to be off. I wouldn't believe this unless I saw a paper. But here's the thing, even if it is hyperbole, they definitely are probably seeing better performance. And maybe, the factor is this is a 2xing. So let's say it's 125% better. That's still an absolutely incredible amount and bodes well for Google Cloud. Now, as you know, Google Cloud has absolutely been soaring. It rose 35% year over year to 11.4 billion in the call last week. And also the operating margin has risen from 11% last quarter, 11.3, all the way up to 17.1%, just a huge jump, right? And they are on pace to grow 35% this year over year, outpacing Amazon and outpacing Microsoft. Those are the three largest cloud providers. And I brought this up because I want to show you that Amazon Web Services, they have a operating margin of 38%. So now imagine that Google Cloud, which is not quite as far along as Amazon Cloud, imagine when they get to the point and they're as fleshed out, they're as built out as Amazon, and they can grab 38% operating margin. So this past quarter, I think they brought in around 1.8 billion in net income. So imagine when they'll be running, growing at 35%. In a few years, they'll be bringing in 20 billion a quarter. If they're at 40%, that will be 8 billion a quarter in net income. And unlike Amazon, which doesn't make any money anywhere else, Google makes tons of money other places. Okay. They're already a cash machine, but this will be a cash machine like nobody has ever seen before. And this isn't even including the potential of Waymo and other things like that. So once again, I just wanted to bring this up. Google Axion, we just have it 6 months after launch being put into the hands of customers. This gives their cloud a huge edge over everybody else, in my opinion. And also of note is that in that earnings call last week, we had Sundar Pichai, and he's quoted here saying, "I couldn't be more excited at the forward-looking roadmap, but all of it allows us to both plan ahead in the future and really drive an optimized architecture for it." Now, there he's not talking about Axion, but he's talking about the tensor processing unit. Now, I want to bring this up as the last thing because we're talking about custom chips and TPU v6, which is Google's internal chip. They renamed it to Trillium, and they're really starting to market it hard. Now, they have to walk a fine line here because everybody wants NVIDIA, and Google is a partner with NVIDIA, and they can't piss off Jensen because they want those chips. But the simple fact is that Google does not run any of their internal software or internal AI workloads on Jensen's chips. They're running them on their own TPUs, and they're seeing much better performance. And why wouldn't they? They're the ones that invented Tensor to begin with. So of course they're going to know this better than anybody else. So here we finally see Google, Alphabet, a company that has been known to sloppily start and stop things, actually focusing, having laser-like focusing and conquering things set before it. Google Cloud is going to be a behemoth. While I don't think it'll be able to catch AWS because they had too big of a jump start, it should be able to narrow the gap or even surpass Microsoft, I believe, in the next 5 to 10 years, which would be a tremendous achievement. And even if they don't, it doesn't matter because unlike AWS, Google makes a lot of money off of a lot of other services. As usual, this is not a vesting device. This is just for entertainment purposes. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please smash that like button down below and be sure to subscribe. Thank you, and all of you have a phenomenal week.